Amazing.
Missoula, Montana over here.
Near
West
Cleveland,
Central
Ohio.
Illinois, across the Mississippi.
I'm
Black Mountain,
I'm
North Carolina.
I'm here from Hamden, Connecticut.
From Pisac, Peru.
Wow, Peru. That's amazing. Love it. I love how global this community is. How many of you are new to Hilo and this is your first community call? Brian, welcome. Oliver, beautiful. Welcome, welcome. Well, for those who are new here, Hilo is a community-led pro-social coordination platform for purpose-driven groups. And our main purpose is to activate the full potential of purpose-driven groups so that we can create a flourishing future that works for everybody. That's it. That's our mission.
Hey,
And
Vince here from Ann Arbor,
oh, amazing.
Ann
Welcome.
Arbor, Michigan.
Great. Beautiful. Well, we are going to hear a brief Hilo update and just what's going on in terms of our new mobile app and some other things. So I'm going to pass it to Tibet, who's going to share a little bit about what's going on.
Hey, everybody. I lead our development efforts in building the Hylo platform. We always take this opportunity on these calls just to give a little bit of a product update. Um, there's not a ton of new stuff to show today, but I'll just tell you about some of the exciting things coming up. There, of course, is always a stream of small improvements and changes to the platform. Recently, we improved the kind of group creation flow that helps you decide what type of group you want to create and kind of what you want your homepage, landing page to be. And also improved the kind of display and use of requests and offers and how they're marked as fulfilled or not and appear on the platform. As a sort of preview of work we're going to be doing this year on making our mutual aid features and functionality much more robust. But the main things I wanted to talk about, and we may have mentioned this in last month, but we're getting very close to releasing a new version of our mobile app that will be, first of all, fully caught up to all the features on the web.
Hylo
And we're going to look and work. I'm going to mute some folks here. Great, thanks. So yeah, fully caught up to all the features on the web. I know that it's been hard to keep the mobile app fully in sync. And so moving forward, it's going to stay fully in sync. We'll have everything that's on the web. I know one of the features that people have been wanting that's on the web and not on mobile is the proposal functionality. So that will be there. And it's going to be just much faster and easier for us to continue developing it and fixing bugs and adding features moving forward. So super exciting. It's going to make the whole Hylo experience just a lot smoother and easier to keep up with since you'll be using really the same interface on the web and mobile. It should also make some of our push notification stuff a little bit more reliable. And there's going to be some changes to how the mobile UI works because it'll be more similar to the web. And so we'll definitely want your feedback and we'll keep tweaking it after we release. But yeah, that should be coming out in probably 2 weeks is my guess. Also, the other like major feature set that we've been working on for a number of months that we're getting really, really close on is the paid groups functionality. So the ability for groups to optionally, if you want, and have a group that has a membership subscription fee or that has paid tracks or courses that you're running on Hylo. And so you'll be able to charge fees, customize different levels of access. And yeah, it's something that so many people have been asking us for because often they are using a different platform to track memberships or track payments and then needing to integrate that with Hylo. And so having it all in one place will be really, really nice. We are looking for groups who want to test this and be our kind of guinea pigs and work with us potentially in our staging environment to make sure that it will support the needs of our members. So yeah, if there's anyone who as a group that wants to charge a membership subscription fee, let us know. And you're down to kind of, yeah, be one of those early adopters, early testers. You can reach out to myself or Yasmin or other team members on the call. I think we have Claire and Aaron and folks here. We'll make sure our emails are in the chat. And yeah, just finally, one last little thing. We recently released a bunch of new translations, new languages. So French, German, Portuguese, Hindi are all available now, alongside Spanish and English. We are still, the last piece of that to finish is translating all of the email templates for the various notifications. And that process we're getting to sort of be automated. So that will be finished soon. And then once that piece of the process is done, we'll be able to add new languages really, really easily. And so let us know if there are particular languages that your group would benefit from having translations for. Yeah, I think that's all I want to share on the product side today. I think so.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Tibet. And next month, we're just going to give you a little teaser. We're going to talk more about paid groups as well and do more of a demo. So with that, I'd love to invite my incredible co-creator, colleague, Claire Broder, to talk about this incredible new offering it's not new, but we're kind of really focusing on it in this next chapter of the Hylo journey. And yeah, over to you, Claire.
Thank you. Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Claire. I'm on the product team, but I'm also on the community team at Hylo. And I just want to share a tiny bit about an offering that our community team offers to the community. And we don't really talk about this that often. So I wanted to make sure that folks know that this is a thing. And that's that we offer community support services. So community stewardship, online community organizing is really a very special skill set that there's not really like anywhere to get trained in that. I've personally been an online community organizer for almost 20 years. I know I don't look that old, but it's true. And I've been learning these lessons for a really, really long time. And this team is myself, Yasmin, and Krisha, who many of you have probably encountered on Hylo. And so for the past several years, we actually have offered this service to a select number of communities, where we have basically consulted with these communities to help them realize their dream of having a group and achieving a specific purpose. So we'll have community design workshops. We listen to their purpose and we translate that into how they might want to set up the platform. And we go really deep on optimizing the Hylo configuration, which it's so customizable. It's kind of crazy, and a lot of folks aren't even aware of like just how customizable it is. So we really help people understand exactly how to set it up for the best for what their purpose is, and also how to strategize onboarding your members, activating them, recruiting new ones. All of these things are really specific skills. And so since we spend day in and day out on these things, we're really in a good position to help communities with that. Um, so maybe Yasmin, you can share the link to this. We talk more about what our offerings are on this page, which is in our documentation, which definitely check that out if you haven't seen it. All the guides are on our Gitbook page. But basically, we offer pollination is just to kickstart a community. So it's a new community coming on board. They want to know how to get set up for success. We spend about a month working really closely with that community to do that. And then there's longer term partnership opportunities where a member of our team will basically embed in your team and take on your values and your purpose and help steward your community with you. So it's like a fractional community steward to come on and help your team do a really good job at this and learn how to take it on and have a group that really um, not runs itself, because groups don't run themselves, but like takes on a life of its own so that it's not just the steward having to do all the work all the time, but you have a really active, collaborative, healthy community where people are contributing and participating a lot. It takes a lot of care to nurture a community like that. So this is just something that we're available to support some opening right now for taking on one or two communities that might want help. So just something to think about. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. And whether or not you want to engage with us on that level, we're always around the Hylo Community Organizers Group and Building Hylo, and we're always available to answer questions. So we're here to help. So please take us up on it. Back
Beautiful.
to you, Yasmin.
Thank you, Claire. And if you are interested, drop your email and we can reach out to you and have a deeper conversation. But in the spirit of, just thinking about some of the needs that you might have as a community, we thought we would do a group activity where we would reflect on, here's the question: what would you like to be able to do on Hilo that would help you better coordinate and support your community? So whether you are part of a community or you're a steward of a community, let's take maybe a minute or two to think about this question, and then let's write it in the chat. And I really want us to have a group conversation so that we can hear each other. Because sometimes like the needs of one community are another community has already thought through it, right? And so, all right, so let's take a few minutes to reflect on this question and write your response in the chat, but don't click, don't hit yes until I tell you to do so. It's more fun that way. So let's take a few minutes and we'll be back.
The world keeps spinning faster. Maybe I don't have to catch up. What if rest is not weakness? What if pause is not failure? Slow down. Take your time. Slow down. Slow down. Watching clouds move slowly, learning from their rhythm.
All right. Let's see. On a count of 3, 2, 1, feel free to share what you have been reflecting on. And then we're just going to open up the room for us to, one, get to know you, but get to know each other and hear more about what you're thinking. So feel free to raise your hand. Maybe we'll just go that way. That way we coordinate better. So if you're ready to share, just raise your hand and let's have a group conversation. And don't be shy.
All right, you know me, I'm not shy. So, hi, Yasmin, hi, everybody,
Kevin.
Claire. I've been deep undercovers with working on stuff. So, if you don't know my background, it's 911, life-saving systems, yada, 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 right? I design never fail networks. But I took it to the community layer because I'm tired of seeing the internet eat itself, if you will. And then I came across Hylo and all of this and a bunch of other things that have to do with turtles and diving and yada yada. So now I used to run Big Fish Games community and also as chief architect for MySpace as well. So if anybody ever wants to hear the Tom story, there's one behind there. Oh yes. Yeah, Tom was actually a load balancing calculation that we had because we forgot to put in something in the DB that showed live online people at any given time. So it was like a 3-line code change that we had to just do. Anyhow, that's why Tom became everyone's friend in the very, very beginning. But I saved people from those kind of mistakes. right? Having to re-architect things like that and making sure that the packet gets from A to B and back. But we're also talking about, elders and mentors and so forth, and um, kind of a better connected tech alliance, if you will, because AI is coming out so quick. Um, you know, so now we're talking governances, yada yada yada. So I've been in the industry for three, epochs at this point, um, seeing .com, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But then with when I came across Hylo, my question is, can we spin up ephemeral groups um, that spin up per family, per bay, per community? Like, could you span that out like on demand with a call to an API? Say if I had a push to talk app, right? Because that's one of the projects we're working on. Could you tie that into the back end of Hylo and make that like a family little, kind of like a neighbors app, but a private, non-scouring one, if you will? So that's kind of where I'm at, what I'm working on. And also it tracks back to the other app that we're developing that we can talk about later, which is Bobtail and Memento and a couple other things. So end to end, from baby to elder communications platforms. So
I can jump in and say that yes, it is possible to create groups via our API, so we could connect more directly about that and get you set up with that. Um, and one of the ways that we talk about how we're building Hylo, what we're building it for is as evolutionary social technology, so that it evolves with groups as they grow and change. And I think that's what you were saying with the sort of baby to elder groups. It's like they need different things. Groups need different things at different
exactly.
phases.
Yeah,
And
we
most of the
literally just
platforms out
launched a
there.
school or the Connected Schools and Communities Foundation, which is taking the old 911 gear that we put out like 5 years ago, extending the life of it by throwing a new hard drive in it, and then kicking it out to schools that need them in Mexico. So we're on our second round of schools now, but getting that CI/CD down, everything was like leading up to that. And then that just led to, okay, I need 5 different types of classrooms. Do I tie it back into Google, Google Classroom, this, that, the other thing? And then we start going down the education route. And I went, whoa, hold on, hold on. That's not going to do. I'm going to leave it to the experts, right? I'll do the CI/CD, I'll do the API calls, yada, yada, yada. But when it gets to, curriculum development, I think that's where all of us come in, right? Because we don't even know the edge that we're teaching right now because it's teaching us what it can do type thing. So, being a techno not, and you know exactly what I'm saying, right? You strap into this thing all day long. Where's it going to take it next, right? And especially in today's day and age, like, where's the governor at? Where's the handle? What are you guys doing for safety, security on the back end, so on and so forth? And then it gets down to supply chain all the way through, right? And that's kind of the dot connector area I live in, right? Or octopus have been called. So anyhow, that's
Yeah,
yeah, cool
cool.
stuff.
Well, it's
I've dug in quite a bit on it, and yeah, I'll leave it back to you guys.
thanks. Yeah, it's Kevin. It sounds like you and I could have a one-on-one conversation and kind of dig into the API and how we connect all these pieces. I see your hand, Mark.
Greetings, everyone, again. And good to see everybody. For those who've been here before, I've been working on a book. I'm in my 7th year of now it's 4 books and whatever. But I'm a sociologist and I'm working on the edge of technology that I was writing on in a PhD in 1970s, which is the technology of social systems. In other words, not the machines that are in front of us, but things like lawsuits and law and propaganda and the systems in which humans affect each other through how we organize. All right. And one of the things I've been working on, and it gets more and more interesting, one of the big focuses of my study is propaganda, because the nature of social harm depends heavily, heavily, heavily on the nature of propaganda. Men of power have to lie to the men of less power about what they're doing, not because the men of less power think they're not doing what they actually are, but because the men of less power are going to mimic and imitate, parrot what the men of power are going to say. And so part of the power of what was called by Lewis Mumford techne, which is the social system structures of competitive capacities, is the nature of class action lawsuits. What do we do as a public when power is harming us intentionally, like so many male elites are doing around the world, and the law protects them from being accountable because they are the law? How does the public protect itself against that? And so I've been doing a ton of work over the last couple decades, actually, trying to understand how law works around the world, so that class action where the public can go to a court and say, we want this kind of a thing to be noticed, and we want to stop this harm to ourselves or whatever, can be done. And so I'm getting ready to release this week to a team of podcasters who are very involved in the nature of the harm of law, which is going on in our wonderful nation of US, and to take it on at the class action lawsuit with global implications and see how that tests out. And so I'm really excited by it because it's always about going to the edge, like with, just like you guys are saying, with the wires and the circuits and the chips and all the rest of it. It's going at the edge of language, where language has to carve a new road for us to be able to get it, to hold accountable those who are most willing to harm us to death. And I mean to death. So anyways, that's what I've been working on. I'm totally excited about it, and just want to share that because it's something I hope to have really great news on this week. So we'll see.
Thank you, Mark, for sharing.
You bet.
All right. Anyone else would like to share? And again, just to orient us back to the question, just around like how do you see Hylo kind of like, what would you help you better coordinate within your group? Anyone else? Or how are you even currently using Hylo to support you and your mission? Just if you're not stewarding a community and you're part of a community. Dan?
I think we lost Dan. Where did Dan?
I
Oh, there
didn't
he is.
unmute myself, sorry. So I'm a new user to Hylo. I only use it periodically, and I by playing with it over the last year, I learned about it at the last unconference. I'm finding that it's requiring a brain shift for me from typical networking programs to community, or orientation. I'm not still sure the difference between Hylo and Mighty Networks, which is what the design school uses. But I'm one of the members of the BioFi community on Hylo. We do have for a regional bioregional group here in North Bay, California. We use Hylo, but we haven't been using it to effect. We're still using, Zoom and phone calls and all of that, which of course won't stop. But I think getting into using a closed community is something I'm still socializing myself. So I should probably stay while you're doing the tutorial at the end. I'm sure I'm going to have a lot of questions, but I'm really excited about this. And, the issues that, Mark, that you brought up about language, conditioning, social change. I'm very much into cultural evolution and have been in the environmental movement since the early days. And I'm realizing that cultural change is a real bear, but I think this is one of the important tools, as well as regional economics, which is what BioFi is doing. So I'm thankful for all of you folks. I don't have a real question, but I probably will have more, Yasmin, when I learn more about
Great.
using Hylo. Thanks.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll do a brief demo later in a bit. Alan, go for it.
Okay, hey, hi everybody. I've been on Hilo for a few months, but I haven't used much. Um, no, I just wanted, so I guess at the end I'll stay for the tutorial too, because I struggle to understand, for instance, you say community. I go to the app, I don't see any link that says community. There's groups, there's discussions, there's posts, but I don't see community, so I don't know what you mean by community. And I'm trying to understand, if the great simplification is a subgroup of the Hilo that is bigger than that, and so this is where I am, but just to share my background, I'm originally from Brazil. I have a background in engineering. I've always loved sustainability and worked in that area for a bit until I realized that in the solar industry, nobody cares about sustainability. They just want the ROI of the investment. And I ended up moving to a different industry that ultimately led me to open my own company because I'm really interested in shifting the relationship people have within companies and the employment. I believe that's another lever to help with this whole thing we're talking about. So that's it. Just wanted to share. Thank you.
Great.
I
Yeah, do
can,
you want to, yeah, address that?
yeah, I'll just respond a little bit to some of the questions that have come up here. Um, we call communities groups in Hilo. We use the kind of general term group because we have communities, we have networks, we have companies, there's all different kinds of groups. And so we went with the more general, generic term. Um, but yes, a community on Hilo is contained within the idea of a group. And you can have nested subgroups that can represent different things depending on the context that you're in. It could be a team of an organization or a smaller bioregion within a larger bioregion. People use it in different ways. And I think one of the main differences I wanted to highlight about Hilos compared to, say, Mighty Networks is this ability to have all of your groups in one place, whereas each Mighty Networks is one sort of separate silo, and you have to log into each one and have separate profiles. We're trying to help break people out of the silos, and so you allow groups to be connected to each other, related to each other, nested within each other, and make it easy for one post to be posted to multiple groups at the same time, and create that kind of cross-group collaboration and communication. I like to think of Hilo as being these kind of three types of contexts that we support. And again, this is, someone was mentioning like shifting from other social platforms to this kind of group-based Hilo model is a little bit different. And that's true. And we are trying to create something that's unique, that creates this weaving of connection across different types of groups and contexts. So we have the context that is your individual community or organization, or that's using Hilo on its own, and kind of doing its own thing, communicating with your members. We have, as I just mentioned, the ability for groups to be connected to each other. Then we have the commons, which is where groups can share themselves kind of publicly with everyone on the Hilo platform. And so that's where you can find, and we'll demo all of this in a moment, but where you can find other groups that have listed themselves publicly in the Hilo platform and kind of see content that has been posted publicly. And so that is a little bit more like another social platform where there's a stream of content coming from all different places in kind of one feed. And then the other context, which is a little bit unique to Hilo, is the place-based, geographic context, where we're really passionate about supporting local place-based groups and bioregional groups. And so that can be happening within the geographic map within a group, within a specific group. But then we also have the geographic map across the whole platform within the commons. So, there is, I understand there's like more complexity in trying to understand all these different ways you can use Hilo. But we think there's also real power and importance in enabling these different contexts and these different types of groups to weave and connect with each other in different ways. So yeah, happy to answer more questions about that as people start using the platform and learning more about it. And yeah.
Thank you,
It's
Tibet.
there.
Anyone else would like to respond? Or I'm also just generally curious, like how you ended up, what brings you to Hilo, and yeah, what inspires you to be here?
I do see Oliver's hand, so pass it to you.
Oh, Oliver, did you have something more to share?
Yeah. Thank you. I have a small community, and we currently I'm not using a platform. We're using sort of just WhatsApp groups and Zoom and whatnot. And I see this is going to happen in probably in 3 months' time. And I was intending to use Circle, and my big question is why use Hilo? Um, I mean I'm just curious, like high level, like what's the why Hilo over Circle? Yeah, that's my biggest question. And maybe for context, my group is it's like a wisdom dojo for people shaping the future. So I think culturally it's a good match, probably. But I'm curious. Yeah.
Okay, I got this one.
Awesome.
Hey Oliver, this is a great question. Um, so yeah, the platform, there's like, there's Mighty, there's Circle, I mean, I'm sure so many others. And some of the things are the same, and then some of the things are really different. And obviously, we have really different values, really different things around like respect for users' data and stuff. Like, we're not a business, we're not selling it, we're not like serving ads, we're not doing any of that crazy stuff. But it's so much more than that. I mean, that's like a minimum that we should all demand from our technology, right? And I don't know what Circle's exact policies are around user data and things like that. But I think what's really exciting about Hilo that these other platforms don't have is around the opportunity to do participatory things with your group. So we have stewardship tools that these other platforms do not have. So for example, you can have proposals. People in your group can propose things that, they want to do, or a project or a way to work together. Um, and we've most recently added participatory funding rounds. So there's groups that are starting to get more like democratic about how they handle funding. And a lot of foundations are transitioning to this way of handling funding. But let's say Oliver, your group puts together some financial resources and you have a treasury, you could then decide as a community how you want to allocate that. And people can have like a co-budgeting process, and members can propose projects, and the other members can vote on the projects and how they want to allocate the funding. And it's so exciting. And it's a totally unique way of like being in a group and having a group in the world at this time as we're moving as a culture towards more participation, more collaboration. Most of these other group platforms are really just made to be a container for the founder of the group to hold the space. Um, and Hilo is that, but it is really also about supporting this collaborative culture to really come to its fullest expression in the world. So if your group is trying to be like that as you aim for the future, then Hilo would be a really great fit that those other platforms wouldn't have. But if you're just looking for a space to have your group and like be able to send messages to them and such, then maybe any of those platforms would work. Um, so I hope that helps with the distinction for everyone. Cool.
So from a build perspective, can you hear me? Yeah. From a build perspective, just your back end, is it AWS? Are you guys hosted, is it cloud? Is it agnostic? Is it, if I'm going to build something on top of this, I guess for everybody, what compliance models do I need to not worry about first, right? Because if that's a platform that I'm choosing, my supply chain is what I'm choosing, right? So that's baseline question for me, number one. And then if I can build on it, what's you know, the comparison to the top tier, like your Gartner, right? Um, how would you compare against the other, the Circle and those? And then since I'm now CTO of a nonprofit for do you guys tie into any of the other like GoFundMe's and whatnot? This might be for Tibet as well, right? Because we're working on just kind of a funnel, right? I'm just calling it the waffle net at this point, where I don't have time to do the research on the organization. I just want to throw money at a good resource and have that resource figure it out on the other end of the waffle or on the other side of the waffle. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my thought process of like the next gen platform for fundraising or community or something has to be able to tie into the 18 bajillion GoFundMe's now, right? So if we as an organization can build that funnel in front of this, you guys are going to win, period, because it's not there as a new product that I just thought up like 3 days ago, or my AI did, right? You start feeding it ideas, it starts bouncing things back and forth. Next thing you know, you're talking to a new protocol, and I'm like, stop. Okay. But it's a cool idea, right? So that becomes the idea board, that becomes the world kitchen, throw all the soup at the wall and then feed somebody with it. I don't care what comes out on the other end, but that's the waffle net is what I'm calling it. So
Mm. Yeah, thanks, Kevin. I'll start a response and then I'm sure Tibet will have more to say. But then I want to make sure we go to Annika, who has their hand up. Um, so right now we're hosted on Heroku, but it looks like Heroku is like looking towards being sunsetted. So we're actively reevaluating that right now. And one thing we're thinking about is choosing hosting that's not in the United States jurisdiction. So if there's folks on this call that would appreciate that, you can give us a thumbs up so we know there's more people in that camp. But we've been hearing from some groups that that's an issue, which is understandable right now. Um, and we do have, in terms of like building, we do have an API that we can expose to trusted parties. And we're also integrated with Zapier. So if there's anyone out here that likes to use Zapier, you can do integrations with Hylo and lots of other services. So that's one really easy way of setting up quick integrations. And yeah, Tibet, was there
what
anything
about
you want to
N8N?
add about that? Oh, Tibet might also want to comment on interoperability in a bigger sense, which is
Yeah,
definitely something that we're looking at.
I mean, there's a lot to say, and I don't want to take up the whole space here. Um, like right now, we are hosted on Heroku, which does depend on AWS. It's not ideal. We're very actively exploring different options for hosting, and also particularly moving our hosting to potentially out of the US into Europe. Um, and also very actively thinking about how we federate Hylo so that multiple people could run servers different places or run servers that they're controlling and owning themselves and have it connect to this kind of whole Hylo ecosystem and infrastructure. And so we're considering the app protocol for that, which is what Blue Sky has been building. It doesn't really yet support private groups like Hylo's focus. And so yeah, we're just sort of constantly in this process of waiting and also trying to participate in developing these protocols to make this possible. Always exploring working with Holochain, who's been one of our partners and supporters, to build certain types of Hylo groups that would be fully peer-to-peer and encrypted and not using servers at all. So we're exploring lots of different options for how to kind of decentralize and have as secure and safe setups for our data. But at this exact moment, we are hosted on Heroku. Yeah, I think there was more questions there that we can address separately, Kevin, but I'll pass it over to Annika.
Hey everyone, good to meet you. I'm a new user as well on Hylo. I haven't been very active yet, but I'm kind of in the process of thinking about creating a community. I'm a game developer myself and working on social impact projects, and would love to create a community with other artists in that kind of co-stewarded way that you were talking about. And yeah, was curious to know if it's like possible to start like with a very small core group and then to kind of intentionally create a culture and then slowly open it up to the public and connect to other networks and groups later on. And then also, I at the moment I'm quite deeply connected to Discord, but there's like this shift happening in their policy of I think you need to soon kind of give your ID to be able to keep using it, which is not something that I want. So I was also thinking about if Hylo could be something to replace that kind of community as well, or yeah. So those are some questions I have.
Well, Annika, I think maybe this is a good time for me to go into a brief demo, because we only have 15 minutes left, and I want to make sure that we can just give you a high level view on and how to navigate the platform. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for a moment. Let's
While you're doing
see.
that, I'll just quickly say that yes, Annika, we love the idea of people starting small and having private, hidden, closed groups, and then potentially over time making it more visible or more connected to other high-low groups and spaces. Yeah. And yes, we have lots of people that move from Discord to high-low.
So I'm actually going to go into the Building Hylo community, which is where a lot of our core members and supporters, believers are hanging out. And so when you walk into the Building Hylo community, the first kind of like view you get is the general homepage, which is set up. We set it up as a kind of almost like a Slack channel where people can introduce themselves, ask questions, and just have like interactions. So this is kind of like the general view. But you can also have a different view, which is more of a stream, where you can create a post, create an event, have a discussion, offers or request. You can have a proposal or a project. So this is kind of like the view. You can filter based on all of those different features, and you can even have different ways of looking at them. You could have a small grid, you could have the calendar view to see about all of the events that are happening within Hylo world, and so forth. So this is the stream view. And if you can look at the panel on the left, this is kind of a way for us to help you navigate Hylo. So you can, submit bugs, instructions on how to do that, some tutorials that will take you to the that will take you to the YouTube channel with all of our community calls that are happening every month. Let's see. I'm using Arc as my browser here. And then you have also a way to go look at the manuals, the Hylo manual and so forth. So if you go into the members view, so this is where everybody is. So you could search based on name. I'm gonna see if I can find Claire over here. There we go. And I can click on her profile. So I'm able to look at what she's working on. She's a mother, land steward, blah, 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 all of the amazing things. And you could also filter based on skills and what Hylo groups she is part of, her roles, and her activity. So this is a way to find each other. Let's see, this is the member directory. And then if you go to all views, so this is how you can edit your kind of board on Hylo. So there's a way to, let's say I want to have the about section to be part of the home view or the features or events. So it's very customizable. And this is a way, you can set up your community or your group the way that you desire. On the left side here, you have the activity. So these are all the notifications that are happening. You have the messages. So you can basically send a note, say hello to friends. And you also, as you'll see all of the different groups that I'm part of. So I'm part of the community organizers, general circle, the Hylo network, and basically here you're able to, if you go to the plus sign, you're able to, create a group. So Anika, to answer your question, it's super easy to create a group. You go there, you go here, you create a group, you can make it open, public, restricted. You could choose your home view and then create your purpose statement. And then within a couple, maybe less than, I don't know, 10 minutes, you can have a group. So it's very simple and easy to navigate. And then what else? I think in the settings, let's see, you've got languages. So we currently have English, Spanish, German, French, Portuguese, and my groups. There we go. So this is a way for me to find all the different groups that I'm part of. I can leave groups, I can join. There are some groups that are open and public, and some groups that are closed. And then finally, this feature, just to address one more, is the map feature. This helps you find all of the groups or people and events kind of like in the area or the region that you're part of. So the map feature is really, really cool because that's a way to find each other locally where you live, but also if you're traveling, you can find other people in that location. So I'll just pause here for a moment and just we can take some questions, or if you have more, questions on how to do something, yeah, we're open. Thank you guys. Hope that was helpful and useful.
That was great. Thank you, Yasmin. Very helpful.
And I will send, by the way, the link. Anyone could join Building Hylo. That's an open group. So I will go ahead and put the link here in the chat so you can join and be part of the community, our growing community. Any questions?
I'll say there's, that great high level overview, Yasmin, of so many things, but there's also a lot more. We could dig into more about how groups can connect to each other and have subgroups, nested groups. We could talk about the funding rounds functionality that we recently released, if someone's interested in that. And also the learning, the tracks, which allows for kind of learning content. So there's a bunch more that we could dig into depending on people's interests and they want to know.
It looks like Brian is interested to learn about learning tracks. Tibet, would you be open to demoing that?
Sure. This is a feature that we released last year. It's very lightweight kind of LMS, learning management system style functionality that we would love to continue to build on depending on the needs of people using Hylo. And we call them tracks. So here I'm in the group, the Hylo Community Organizers group, where people talk about how to organize communities on the platform, and we can make sure that link is also shared as well. And so we do have, under the learning journey section here, a tracks feature. And of course, as a steward of this group, I see these unpublished tracks, but if you're just a member, you'll just see this setting up your community for success track, which is a very simple kind of guide for helping people walk through setting up your community well. And so tracks are pretty flexible and simple, but basically they have a set of actions that people can go through kind of step by step. And each action has different ways that people mark as complete. So in this case, it's just, okay, I did this. I'm going to mark it as complete. And as a steward, you can kind of see the people who've gone through and have completed this track. And if there's content they had to fill out, then it will show that as well. I can actually show in the management settings if I'm adding an action. So you can have people need to leave a comment to say that they've completed this action or just react to it. You can have multiple choice questions or a sort of prompt that people can have to fill in text or upload a file. So there's many different ways that this can be used to kind of run a course or a learning module or any kind of like sequential set of actions that you want to allow people to kind of walk through in your group. And as I mentioned, we're very soon going to be releasing paid tracks as a feature as well. So you could run a paid course on Hylo.
Thank you, Tibet. Awesome. Any other questions or just like specific feature that you want us to demo or explore?
Who is your biggest learning management like user right now? You have like a demo that you could show, or one of the big usages? Because I see a really good use case for that.
I don't know if Claire has an answer to that.
Yeah, we have a track in the Hylo Community Organizers group that anyone can take for free, and it's just like how to successfully set up your group. So I recommend that to check it out.
But I don't know that we have big users yet. I mean, this is something that we released last year, and it's like, again, it's sort of like a first version of it. And we don't know exactly how it's being used, and we should probably like look in, reach out to groups who are using it more and see if there's some that are willing to share more information. But yeah, it's a fairly new thing that we're just starting to encourage people to use more and more, and wanting to get feedback on.
Sam?
I just want to ask a question about what Tibet just said, which was that you're not sort of automatically gathering this information. This is something that you would want the groups themselves to report back to you. In some, I mean, I guess in my understanding of how most social media applications work, I create a group, they can see exactly how many people are in my group, they know how much, conversation and all that sort of metrics happens, because that's how they work out how to advertise to me and what it's, what the best context is for me, or for them, for as they think it's for me, rather than what's the best context for me, maybe. So, yeah, maybe you could answer that a bit.
Sorry, I was in the chat and kind of missed your question for me. Like, how should
Sorry.
people reach out to us?
No, I can answer that, Sam. Or I can start to, and then Tibet, you'll catch on. We just don't really dig around in the database very much at all, especially not with or without like a request from a group. Um, yeah, totally, Jeff, stay out of my group. We're not surveilling the groups. Yeah, only our development team has access to the database, and it's secured through all the standard security protocols. Um, but we're really not mining it to collect information and then advertise things. Um, I guess we could, but that's just like not who we are. Um, and yeah, and Tibet might have more to say about this, but that's kind of why we make these requests like, oh, actually, we want to hear from you guys. Like, who is using a track? Who wants to try it? Who wants to test out paid membership? Because our orientation is really relational. And we don't want to just like take the data and do whatever we want with it just because we can. Like, that is such a terrible paradigm for the internet, and it doesn't have to be that way. Um, so that's my quick response. And Tibet, maybe you have other things to say about why we don't scour the database.
I mean, yeah, here's our agreements and how we use, use your data and don't use it. We will never look at your data without consent or without a request. So yeah, that's just simple and clear.
Oh, I'm muted. Hey, thank you, Tibet. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, everyone, for your amazing questions and for being here. We gather every month, so make sure we'll send an invitation for next month. But I also want to make sure that you're invited to join Building Hylo group. So if you haven't, please join and say hello, like just in the chat, introduce yourself, maybe share what you're working on, your mission, what you need help with. Really, like we're here to support each other. And so just ask and see what comes up. And also, you're welcome to reach out to other members and say hello within Hylo. And then the last thing I want to mention, oh yes, the community call for March will be on the 23rd. And we'll also share links for office hours, where we go deeper in the platform and answer more questions. So we'll send you some links on that very soon. And yeah, thank you all so much for coming here and for being here. We're so grateful for you. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day and an incredible week ahead as well. Look at that. Yay! Love that. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. See you soon.
Bye.
Good to see you, Jeff. Thank you, Tibet. Bye, Mark. We always dance at the end, so.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.